GLM 4.7 from ZAI is now live on Cerebras, running at around 1,500 tokens per second. It is frontier-level intelligence for coding, tool-driven agents, and multi-turn reasoning. At Cerebras, we've seen overwhelming demand from developers migrating to GLM 4.7, and it consistently comes down to three things: cost, speed, and intelligence. On cost, GLM 4.7 delivers high-proficiency intelligence at a fraction of the price of models like Claude Sonnet 4.5. On speed, when you run GLM 4.7 on Cerebras, you're getting up to 1,500 tokens per second. That is roughly 20 times faster than closed-source competitors running on GPUs. And that speed matters, especially for agentic workflows, coding loops, and anything where latency compounds across multiple calls. But intelligence is where things get really interesting. GLM 4.7 is currently the strongest open-source coding model available. It achieves 96% on benchmarks like Tau² Bench Telecom, which makes it extremely reliable for tool use inside coding harnesses and agent systems. On reasoning and knowledge tasks, GLM 4.7 scores 86% on GPQA Diamond, one of the hardest scientific reasoning benchmarks as measured by artificial analysis. However, every model has personality quirks, and one of the biggest mistakes we see when people migrate to GLM 4.7 is reusing old prompts without adjusting them for how the model actually behaves. To get the best results, you need to tune your prompts, architecture, and sampling parameters to match the model. So here are 10 rules that will help you get the most out of GLM 4.7. Rule number 1, front load your instructions. GLM 4.7 supports up to 131,000 tokens of context, but like most large models, accuracy degrades at extreme lengths. More importantly, GLM 4.7 has a strong bias towards the beginning of the prompt, even more than most models. So put all mandatory instructions and behavioral constraints at the very start of your system prompt. Rule number 2, be clear and direct. GLM 4.7 responds best to firm, explicit language. This means that effective prompts use words like must and strictly. We'd recommend avoiding using soft or suggestive phrasing that the model might treat as optional. Rule number 3, specify a default language. Because GLM 4.7 is multilingual, it might occasionally switch languages. If you want consistent English output, explicitly say always respond in English in your prompt. This also prevents occasional reasoning traces appearing in Chinese on first turn. Rule number 4, leverage roleplay. One of GLM 4.7's biggest strengths is how well it maintains roles and personas. If you want a specific tone or expertise, give it an explicit role. Or build multi-agent systems where each agent has its own persona. Rule number 5, break up the task. GLM 4.7 does one reasoning pass per prompt. It doesn't interleave reasoning and action mid-task the way some other models might. So break complex tasks into smaller steps. For example, you can list dependencies, propose structure, then generate or migrate code. This matches the model's execution-first behavior and produces cleaner outputs. Rule 6, disable reasoning when you don't need it. For simple tasks, reasoning overhead just slows things down. On Cerebras, you can set disable reasoning to true, lower max completion tokens, prompt the model to skip reasoning, use structured outputs like JSON, or enable clear thinking set to true to reset state. Rule number 7, enable reasoning for complex tasks. For harder questions, do the opposite. Enable reasoning, prompt for step-by-step thinking, and even include examples of the reasoning depth that you want. Rule number 8, use critics. One of the most powerful patterns is separating generation from validation. You can use critic agents for things like code review, QA, security, or performance, each with a focused role. This dramatically improves reliability in agent pipelines. Rule number 9, pair GLM with a frontier model. GLM 4.7 handles the majority of tasks extremely well, but for the most demanding 10% of workloads, you have several effective strategies. You can route straightforward tasks to GLM for speed and efficiency, use GLM as your backbone agent for high throughput execution, or use a frontier model to plan out the steps and strategy, then have GLM follow those steps to execute at scale. This hybrid approach gives you substantial speed and cost savings without sacrificing quality for complex tasks. Finally, rule number 10, use clear thinking intentionally. The clear thinking parameter controls whether the model retains state between calls. For multi-step agent loops where you need context to persist across interactions, you can set clear thinking to false. This preserves the reasoning state throughout your workflow. For one-off API calls or batch processing jobs where each request is independent, you want to set it to true. This resets the state and prevents accumulated context from causing drift or inconsistencies. And when you run GLM 4.7 on Cerebras, the workflow stays familiar. You can use up to 131,000 contexts, generate up to 40,000 output tokens, and control reasoning explicitly. By leveraging GLM 4.7's 17 to 20 times faster output speeds and lower costs for most tasks, you can build faster, cheaper, and more scalable systems without giving up intelligence. You can get started for free at cloud.cerebras.ai and let us know what you think.